Welcome to my channel, The Good Book Tales. In today's video, we step into the dusty streets of ancient Jerusalem, where the air is alive with the sound of footsteps, the call of merchants, and the soft hum of prayers drifting from the great temple. Imagine it, the golden light of morning spilling over the stone walls, pilgrims from far and near pressing into the city for the Passover feast. It's a place buzzing with excitement, devotion, and the weight of tradition. But in the middle of this vast crowd, among the families and travelers, there's one boy whose quiet presence will soon leave everyone astonished. His name? Jesus. He's only 12 years old. To most, he looks like any other boy, dressed in the simple clothes of the time, staying close to his parents, Joseph and Mary. But there's something in his eyes, something that catches the light differently. You can't quite name it. It's not pride, not mischief, but a deep awareness, as if he sees more than the rest of us. The family has come from Nazareth for the feast, a journey of days on foot, through rugged paths and winding valleys. They've traveled with relatives and neighbors, sharing food, laughter, and stories along the way. It's a tradition they've followed year after year, and this time feels no different. At first, the Passover itself is beautiful. The songs, the prayers, the sense of unity. But as the feast ends and the crowds begin to leave the city, something unexpected happens. Something that will stop Mary and Joseph in their tracks, fill them with confusion and worry, and lead them back into the bustling heart of Jerusalem. The road home is long, and families often travel in groups. It's easy to assume a child is walking somewhere among cousins or friends. Mary and Joseph walk on, confident that Jesus is safe. But when the first night falls and the travelers rest, they look for him, and he's nowhere to be found. Their voices grow urgent. Have you seen him? Did he walk with you? The answers are all the same, no. By morning, their worry has turned to fear. They retrace their steps, pushing back into the city against the flow of those leaving. The streets feel different now. Louder, more chaotic, every face a stranger. Days pass. They search markets, inns, narrow alleys, asking questions, scanning crowds. Nothing. Then, on the third day, they step into the temple. It's crowded with teachers, scholars, and elders, deep in discussion over the scriptures. And there, right in the middle, sits Jesus. Not listening silently in a corner, but speaking, asking questions, and answering with a wisdom that makes the most learned men lean forward, eyes wide in astonishment. Mary freezes. Joseph stops beside her. And that's when it happens. Jesus turns, sees them, and speaks. Mary's breath catches as she watches her son among the elders. The boy who just days ago was walking the dusty road home now sits with the most respected teachers of the temple, his voice steady and sure. The air feels thick, like the moment before a storm breaks. Around him, the circle of scholars is tight, some nodding, some exchanging looks, as if they've just heard something they can't quite explain. Joseph glances at Mary, and she sees the lines of worry still etched into his face. The relief of finding Jesus is tangled with questions that rise like a tide. How did he get here? How did he know these men would listen? And why does he look so at home in this place, as if he belongs more here than anywhere else? The temple itself is alive with sound. The shuffle of sandals on stone, the low murmur of conversations, the rustle of scrolls being unrolled. Sunlight spills through high openings, falling in bright patches across the marble floor. It's the heart of Jerusalem's faith, a place of learning and law, where every word spoken carries weight. Yet in this space of tradition and authority, a 12-year-old boy speaks with such depth that even those trained for decades lean closer to hear him. Mary takes a step forward, but something makes her pause. She can hear his words now. Questions about the law, about the promises of God, about the meaning behind the scriptures that many have recited since childhood without thinking. There is no arrogance in his tone, only an earnest searching, a hunger for truth that seems far beyond his years. One of the elders strokes his beard, eyes narrowing, not in disapproval, but in wonder. Another tilts his head, studying Jesus, as if trying to understand how a boy could think with such clarity. Outside, the city hums with life. Merchants shout prices, travelers haggle over food, children weave through crowds. Inside the temple, time feels slower, as though the world has paused to listen. Mary's heart beats faster. She knows they must speak to him, must understand why he stayed behind without a word. But she also senses this moment is bigger than her own worry. Something is happening here. Something she doesn't yet have the words for. Joseph finally moves forward, his hand resting on Mary's arm, steadying her. They are close enough now to see the light in their son's eyes, the calm in his expression. He looks up at them, the corners of his mouth lifting just slightly, as if he knows exactly why they've come. The noise of the temple fades for a heartbeat, leaving only the quiet space between parent and child. And then, Jesus begins to speak. Mary's voice trembles as she finally breaks the silence. "Son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." Her words carry both relief and a sharp edge of hurt. For 3 days, they've walked streets filled with strangers, scanning every corner, fearing the worst. To see him here, calm and untroubled, stirs emotions she can't easily name. Jesus looks at her with steady eyes, unshaken by the weight of her question. "Why were you searching for me?" he says quietly, yet his voice carries in the stillness. "Didn't you know I had to be in my Father's house?" The words hang in the air, heavy and puzzling. Around them, the elders exchange glances, some with curiosity, others with a spark of recognition, as if they've heard something profound. Joseph's brow furrows. There's love in his eyes, but also the ache of a father who doesn't fully understand. They had come to Jerusalem for the Passover, fulfilling a tradition passed down for generations. But this is something they could not have prepared for. The boy they've raised speaks of a calling that seems to pull him beyond the life they've built in Nazareth. Outside, the afternoon light begins to fade, casting long shadows through the temple's columns. The city is shifting into evening, but inside, it feels as though the day has paused. Mary senses they are standing at the edge of something far bigger than their journey home. This is no simple misunderstanding, no childish mischief. It's as if a door has opened, revealing a glimpse of who Jesus truly is. And yet, that glimpse brings more questions than answers. Mary glances at Joseph, unsure if either of them is ready for what comes next. The air in the temple feels charged now, as if every sound, every breath is part of something unfolding. The elders lean in closer, their robes brushing the floor, their faces intent. Some whisper to one another, others simply watch, eyes fixed on the boy who speaks with a calm authority that feels far beyond his years. Every answer Jesus gives seems to open another question, and every question carries a depth that stirs both wonder and unease. Mary feels the weight of eyes on them. Strangers studying this small family, murmurs spreading through the crowd. Joseph shifts beside her, his jaw tight, his hand hovering near her arm as though ready to guide her away. But neither of them moves. They can't. It's as though their feet are rooted to the marble floor, held by something greater than curiosity, something like awe, mixed with an ache they don't yet understand. Jesus continues speaking, his gaze steady, as if he's both in this moment and far beyond it. He talks of the law, of the prophets, of promises yet to come. His voice doesn't rise, yet the words carry, threading through the vast space until even those at the edges lean in to hear. a sudden quiet spreads, deep enough to make the faintest sound sharp. The soft crackle of a torch, the shifting of a sandal. Outside, the last streaks of gold fade from the sky, and the shadows grow long across the temple's pillars. Mary's heart pounds. She knows they can't stay here forever, but she also knows leaving means stepping away from something sacred. Jesus turns toward them again, his expression unreadable, and for a moment it feels as though the next words from his mouth will change everything. Jesus holds their gaze for a long, still moment. Then, instead of speaking directly to Mary or Joseph, he turns back to the circle of elders. He poses a question about the coming of the Messiah, not in a vague, childlike way, but with precision, as if he's guiding them toward an answer they can't yet see. The room shifts. Several elders exchange startled looks, one even leaning forward with furrowed brows, as though this question cuts deeper than he expected. Mary feels a shiver run through her. This is no ordinary discussion. It's as if her son is gently pulling at threads that, if followed, could unravel long-held understandings. One elder begins to respond, but Jesus interrupts, respectfully, yet firmly, offering an insight that draws gasps from those close enough to hear. The surprise isn't in his confidence, but in the truth of what he says. It's a truth that makes sense, yet feels dangerous in its boldness. Outside the temple, the sounds of the city swell. The clatter of closing market stalls, the distant bleat of animals being led to shelter. But here, inside these towering walls, the world feels smaller, tighter, more urgent. Joseph shifts his weight, his eyes darting between Jesus and the men around him. He can sense the tension building. There's admiration here, but also a quiet resistance, as though not everyone is pleased with the clarity and conviction in this boy's voice. Then comes the unexpected. One of the younger scholars stands, pointing slightly toward Jesus, and asks a question in a tone sharper than before. "Who taught you these things?" His voice cuts through the room, a challenge wrapped in curiosity. The other elders fall silent, waiting. Mary feels the air grow heavy again. She wonders if they are no longer simply marveling at him, but measuring him, deciding what his words might mean for everything they believe. Jesus doesn't answer right away. He looks from face to face, letting the question linger. The light in the temple has dimmed to the warm glow of torches, and shadows stretch across the walls like reaching hands. When he finally speaks, his voice is quiet, yet every syllable lands with weight. His answer is not what they expect, and it leaves the room suspended in a stillness so deep that even Mary forgets to breathe. Jesus lifts his head slightly, his eyes steady and calm, and answers the scholar's question. "My teaching is not my own," he says, his voice firm but without pride. "It comes from my Father." The way he says Father makes the room shift again. It is not the way a boy would speak of his earthly father, and every ear in the temple seems to catch the difference. Some of the elders glance at Joseph, expecting him to respond, but Joseph stays silent, his jaw tightening as he processes what he's hearing. Mary feels her heart beat faster. She has heard words like this before, in quiet moments when Jesus was younger. Little hints, phrases that felt too big for him. But here, before the most learned men in Jerusalem, those words carry a weight she has never felt. There's a silence after he speaks, the kind that comes when something important has been said, and no one knows what to do with it. One elder finally leans back, his expression a mix of awe and concern. "If this is true," he says slowly, "then you are claiming something greater than the law itself." The room tenses. Another elder shakes his head, murmuring under his breath. The younger scholar who had challenged Jesus seems caught between disbelief and wonder. Joseph steps forward at last, placing a hand on Jesus' shoulder. "We must go," he says quietly, though his eyes search his son's face for understanding. Mary moves closer too, her relief at finding him still mixed with unease over what she has witnessed. Jesus rises without resistance, yet before leaving, he turns to the elders once more. "You search the scriptures because you think they give you life," he says, his voice clear in the torchlight, "but they speak about someone greater." The words ripple through the room, leaving faces pale and thoughtful. As they step out into the cool night air, the streets quieter now. Mary feels both comfort and an unshakable awareness that her son's path is set toward something vast and unstoppable. She exchanges a glance with Joseph, but neither speaks. Then, just as they pass beyond the temple's shadow, a robed figure slips from the colonnade, watching them go with an expression that is not wonder, but warning. The night air feels cooler as they walk away from the temple, their steps slow after the weight of all that has happened. The flicker of torches fades behind them, replaced by the dim glow of scattered lanterns along the streets. The sounds of the city are softer now. A distant dog barking, the faint murmur of voices from houses where families settle in for the night. Mary walks close to Jesus, her mind replaying every word he spoke inside those walls. She wants to ask him more, to understand everything he meant, but something in his calm silence tells her this is not the time. Joseph keeps watch on the road ahead, his posture steady. He has no doubt now that their son carries a wisdom and calling beyond what they can guide. And yet, there's relief in knowing they have found him safe. Whatever questions remain, he is here with them again. They reach the edge of the city and join the road that will lead them back to Nazareth. The journey feels different now, quieter, each of them lost in thought. Along the way, familiar faces from their traveling group greet them, relief showing in their eyes when they see Jesus walking beside his parents. No one asks too many questions. Some things are better left unsaid. By the time they reach home, life slips back into its ordinary rhythm. Jesus helps with chores, learns the carpenter's trade from Joseph, and shares quiet meals with Mary. Yet, beneath the normal days, there is an unspoken knowing. The memory of the temple, the elders leaning in, the challenging questions, the words that stirred the air, stays with them. It's a reminder that even in the ordinary, something extraordinary is growing. Years later, Mary will remember this journey every time she sees her son speaking to crowds, teaching with the same steady voice he had that day. She will remember how, even as a boy, he was drawn to his father's house, and how his words carried both mystery and promise. For now, though, the road ahead is quiet, the stars bright above them. The boy walks between his parents, and the world for this moment rests.